can I tell you about a really bad experience I had?
Yes, I've been waiting to hear about this.
I didn't tell. So we've just talked about how good we are as performers.
Give me the juicy scoop.
But I'm about to tell you that we are all human, and I had a pretty bad experience with a booking last week. So right now, we're midst of Christmas, corporate gigs. It is the season to be doing magic.
There's a lot of chaotic gigs out there at the moment.
Yeah, and I've been finding something interesting. Last year, for those who don't know yet, I was on Australia's Got Talent, which is a TV format of like America's Got Talent, but a smaller version, I guess. And since being on that show, it gave me a sort of boost in people booking me for stage shows as opposed to roving magic, because now they've seen me on this big platform.
Killing it, by the way. Killing it.
Thanks, man. And because of that, people are like, yeah, we want that energy, on our stage, which is great because I love doing stage shows. But because of that, in December...
I saw your Insta story, right? So when you say stage...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm getting to. Man. So when a magician does a show on stage at a corporate event, there are so many factors that have to be in the right order and set up for the show to be as successful as it can be. One of those things is, where is the stage in the room? Is there a dance floor between you and the audience? Because that is going to kill 60% of the energy because now they're too far away. Are there obstacles in the way on the tables? Like every table at a banquet will have a centerpiece. Is that too tall? Is that blocking them from seeing you? Are some of the tables to the side of the stage so they're not actually seeing the show? Yes. They're seeing the side of the show. Anyway, there's so many things. So typically what we do as performers is we have a show writer, like a contract for what technical stuff we need in order for us to do the show, and we send it to them. And for the most part, clients are really great and they set it all up well, and you walk in there and you've just got everything you need, and that just allows you to do a really good show. So there was one particular client that I had, which was last week, and not their fault, but what happened was the person that was booking me left the company and someone else had to take over for them. So mid-booking, so they paid me and they booked me and everything, and I've sent them all the details, but now someone's taken over and they're just playing catch-up. Like they're trying to make things just good enough to work, which is fine. They did a great job. Not their fault. Not my fault.
It's their fault. Let's get them.
So I rock up to the venue, really nice venue for roving magic, but I get there and first thing I notice is there's no stage, like there's no platform. The second thing I noticed is what I thought was going to be a sit-down dinner is actually a stand-up cocktail event.
Oh, boy.
So there are tables. Like they have put these long tables for people to sit down and eat at, but they're serving canapes. And the bar, this venue has 2 rooms. So the room that has the bar in it is in a separate room. And then the room that the show would be in is a different room, which has the long tables, but also has pool tables to the side. People can play pool. So there's a big gap. And then there's a band set up, but in that big gap, they've actually set up cocktail high tables in front of those big long tables. If you were technically in front of where the band was, the people sitting down at these tables wouldn't even be able to see you because the cocktail tables are in the way. So there's really not a great setup for a show. Anyhow, I'm always in the mindset of we'll make it work. There's going to be some kind of a show at least. So I talked to the venue and we move these cocktail tables out of the way. So at least the long tables can see us, right? I do a sound check. They've organized a headset for me and everything. And at the time when we did the tech rehearsal, it all worked really well.
Oh, no.
So now I'm like, great. So for Christmas parties, people are a lot looser than normal. They're like, they're drinking a lot more. It's their time to relax. They're definitely not being formal etiquette like at a conference or something. So I know this. So I always cut back my stage shows from 30 minutes to 20 minutes because I know that's probably the amount of time I have the attention for. So I look at the run sheet and what they've done is they have all of these speeches happening and then their plan is to have a half an hour break and then have me on stage. And the first thing I notice is that's a little red flag because in that half an hour, people are going to get sloshed, right? They're going to drink because now the formal stuff's over. I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. So what ends up happening is I've done all the rehearsal. I do my roving magic first because I'm doing roving magic before the show. Mm-hmm. And everyone's loving the magic. Like it's as it should be. People are reacting to it. People are relaxed. People are enjoying the event. But what I notice is no one is sitting at these long tables. So I'm like, great. Everyone is standing up. This could be an issue because no one wants to stand still and watch a show for 20 minutes. That's just not a good way to prepare. So I'm like, oh God, all right, cool. Still, I'm going to power through it. I'm a professional. Then the client goes to get everyone's attention to start the awards. And it takes them literally 5 minutes of them on the microphone saying, guys, please come to the front. Please stop talking. We're going to do some awards now.
Boy.
It takes them 5 minutes just to get their attention and to stop because it's a Christmas party. Everyone's in just a happy, drunk mood. Okay. So I'm like, oh boy. So they eventually get everyone's attention. Now, while they're doing the awards, the client comes up to me and says, hey, I've just realized how crazy our audience is. We probably can't get their attention again later. So we should probably have you do your show, right after the awards. And I'm like, that's the best thing I've ever heard. So now I quickly go and get myself ready for the show. And I'm ready to do the show. And by the way, I'm like, this is going to be so great. I'm going to film this. So I have this footage of me bombing too, by the way, which is great. But every time someone finishes an award, like every time someone accepts their award, they say, oh, great, look, I'm going to be quick because I know we don't want to be up here for ages, but thank you, blah, 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 blah. And everyone keeps saying that, like, I'm just going to power through quickly because I know we don't want to be up here for long. I'm like, oh, God. So they've just heard this like 10 times.
Yeah, they're like setting a precedent.
Yeah, and then while they're up there, I decide to turn my headset mic on just to do a quick check. I always make a little sound or something like, usually like that, just to hear it, in the ambience of the room that, okay, it's working. So I turn on my headset and I hear the god-awful sound of like ringing, like, ooh, like this. And the client and the people giving the awards, yeah, just like that.
Sorry about that.
Just like that. You could almost answer that on a loudspeaker. No, don't do it. Because we don't have to answer. We don't know who it is. So I quickly turn my headset on. It makes an awful noise. And I look at the sound desk guy and I go, hey, that noise you just heard, that was from my microphone. And he goes, oh, okay, well, maybe turn it off. I'm like, yeah, I will turn it off, but I need to do a show soon. So I'm going to have to turn it on. He's like, yeah, probably don't turn it on because it's going to make that noise again. I'm like, but you don't understand. I have to use this microphone to go on stage. So if I don't turn it on, what are we going to do? And he's like, oh, it's probably because there's 2 microphones running. They're using the handheld. I'm using the headset. So the last guy gives his speech, like the boss of the company, and then they say, oh, so because we can't have a dance floor, we've booked an amazing magician to perform for us. And he starts reading out my intro. And that's fine. And then I come on stage and there's this moment where my music's playing, but I have to grab his microphone to turn it off. I do that. And then as soon as I turn mine on, mine starts screaming. And I'm like, great. So my microphone's going off. That takes about 20 seconds to fix. And during that time trying to fix it, what do you think happens in 20 seconds of nothing happening?
Everyone left, right?
Everyone starts talking to each other, continues drinking, continues partying. So the microphone comes back on. But at this point, even though everyone's still in the room, they're all just talking to their own groups of friends. And it was just a comical moment where now I'm doing a show to the 4 people that are in front of me because everyone is just talking. No one has any awareness that I'm doing a show. So I'm doing the show and I'm doing some pretty good magic.
For 4 people.
For only these front 4 people. And I'm just like, at what point do I just give up here and just call it quits? But I'm not just going to stop mid-routine. So what ends up happening is no one is paying attention to me except for these 4 people, to the point where I go out to get an audience member. I'm like, all right, let's bring someone on to have some fun. I pump my Mission Impossible music and I go up to someone and he says, oh, can you do some magic for this girl? It's her birthday. And they're like excited to see me again. I'm like, bro, I'm literally doing a show right now. Like if you just spin around, you can watch like this whole presentation I'm doing, but they're just too gone. What ends up happening is, as a professional, you have to make a decision. And I decided to just make the show 5 minutes long. So I did one set. The 4 people that were watching loved it. And then I just simply said, look, guys, everyone wants to drink and have fun. So let's end the show here. I'll continue doing some roving magic instead. I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. And I leave. And the client was actually so embarrassed for her audience. Like the fact that they didn't give me the time of day. She was so embarrassed and like, almost like teary-eyed. She's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know why they're being such a-holes. Like, I can't believe this just happened to you. But for me, it didn't affect my emotion at all.
Let me just interject here.
Yeah.
That never would have happened if you were a street performer. Just gonna say, that you know, building crowds is our MO.
Yeah, you know, you can take it however you want. Like, this is a time when I was at my lowest. Like, I bombed. So I just want to be honest. It happens to everyone. But yeah, so I just ended the show super quick.
It's great.
And the client apologized, and I just kept doing roving magic instead, and that works so much better. So something I've learned is that now during Christmas time, I just always try to push the roving magic because of times like that. Sometimes you just can't control the elements.
And how many times has this sort of thing happened to you? How many times have you bombed, do you think, in your, let's say, the last 2 years?
That was the only time I couldn't do the whole show.
Wow, that's impressive.
Because normally an event is normal, and like if there was a stage there, if people were actually sat down like they thought they would be, it would be fine.
Yeah, it just sounds like poor planning, right?